The journey to Jawhara. The sun hung like a merciless eye in the cloudless sky, its heat pressing down upon the endless expanse of golden sand. Khalil had been walking for 3 days now, his weathered hooves sinking into the shifting dunes with each labored step. The old camel's humps, once proud and full, had begun to shrink, their stored fat depleting as his body fought against the relentless desert. He was alone now. The caravan had left him behind 2 sunrises ago, when his pace had slowed to what the traders deemed unacceptable. "Too old," they had muttered, unloading his burden and dividing it among the younger camels. "He'll only slow us down." Khalil had watched them disappear into the heat shimmer, their bells growing fainter, until even the memory of their sound was swallowed by the desert's silence. But Khalil was not ready to surrender to the sand. Somewhere in the vast wilderness ahead lay the oasis of Jawhara, the legendary sanctuary his mother had spoken of in whispered tales during the cold desert nights of his youth. She had described it as a place where the sweetest water bubbled up from hidden springs, where date palms swayed in gentle breezes, and where the sand gave way to soft grass that cushioned tired hooves. It was said that no camel who reached Jawhara ever wanted to leave. "It calls to us," his mother had said, her ancient eyes gleaming in the starlight. "When the time comes, when the desert has taken all it can from your body but not your spirit, Jawhara will reveal itself, but only to those who believe." Khalil had been young then, strong and skeptical. He had thought the stories were merely comfort for the dying, tales to ease the passage from this world to the next. But now, with the sun baking his brown hide and his tongue swollen with thirst, he found himself clinging to those words like a lifeline. The 4th day brought no relief. The wind had picked up, whipping sand into stinging clouds that forced Khalil to squint his eyes nearly shut. His water had run out at dawn, and the sparse vegetation he occasionally encountered was dry and brittle, offering no sustenance. Still, he pressed on, driven by an instinct deeper than conscious thought. As the sun reached its zenith, Khalil stumbled and fell to his knees. The sand burned against his legs, and for a moment he considered simply lying down and letting the desert claim him. It would be easier than this endless struggle, this foolish chase after childhood stories. But then he remembered his mother's voice. The desert tests not just the body but the heart. Those who fail the test see only mirages. Those who pass find truth. With tremendous effort, Khalil pushed himself back to his feet. His vision swam and his legs trembled. But he continued walking, one step, then another. The rhythm became a meditation, a prayer offered to the vast emptiness around him. The 5th day dawned with a peculiar quality to the light. The usual harsh glare seemed softer somehow, tinged with an almost ethereal glow. Khalil's condition had worsened. He could barely lift his head, and his breathing came in short, labored gasps. Yet something deep within him stirred, a recognition he couldn't quite name. The landscape began to change subtly. The dunes seemed less chaotic, following patterns that suggested the presence of underground water. Small rocks appeared, then larger ones, arranged in formations that seemed almost intentional. The sand itself took on different hues, still golden but with veins of darker earth threading through it. By midday, Khalil caught his first glimpse of green. At first, he was certain it was a mirage. The desert had played such tricks on him before, showing him phantom oases that dissolved the moment he approached. But this green remained constant as he drew closer, resolving into actual vegetation, hardy grasses and small shrubs that spoke of water nearby. His heart hammered in his chest as he crested a small rise. Below him, cupped in a natural depression between rolling dunes, lay the most beautiful sight he had ever beheld.
The oasis of Jawhara was everything his mother had promised, and more. Crystal clear water bubbled up from 3 natural springs, creating a series of pools that reflected the blue sky like liquid mirrors. Towering date palms swayed in a gentle breeze, their fronds creating patches of blessed shade. Between the trees, lush grass carpeted the ground, dotted with wildflowers that seemed to glow with their own inner light. But it was not just the oasis itself that took Khalil's breath away. Around the largest pool, a small herd of camels grazed peacefully. They were magnificent creatures, their coats gleaming with health, their eyes bright and alert. Some were young, others bore the weathered dignity of age, but all possessed an air of contentment that Khalil had never seen in the working camels of the caravans. As he descended toward the oasis, one of the camels, a stately female with gentle eyes, approached him. Her movements were unhurried, filled with the kind of grace that comes from living without fear or want. "Welcome, weary traveler," she said, her voice like cool water over stones. "I am Noura, keeper of this sanctuary. We have been expecting you." Khalil's legs finally gave out, and he collapsed beside the nearest pool. The water was impossibly clear, so pure he could see every grain of sand at the bottom. He drank deeply, feeling the liquid restore not just his body but his very soul. The water tasted of rain and earth, of life itself. "How did you know I was coming?" he asked when he could finally speak. Noura settled beside him, her presence both comforting and regal. The desert tells us many things, if we know how to listen. It spoke of an old camel who would not surrender, who carried within him the true spirit of the wanderer. Such camels are rare, and they are always welcome here. As Khalil rested, other camels approached to greet him. Each had a story of their own journey to Jawhara. Some had been abandoned by caravans. Others had simply grown tired of the endless march across the dunes. All had found their way here through a combination of desperation and faith. "Is this place real?" Khalil asked, still hardly daring to believe. "Oh." An ancient male camel, his coat silver with age, chuckled softly. "Reality is what we make of it, young one. The desert is real, the sand is real, the thirst and the heat are real, but so is hope. So is the strength to continue when all seems lost. This oasis exists because we need it to exist, because we have earned it through our suffering and our refusal to surrender." As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Khalil felt a peace he had never known. The cool grass beneath his legs, the sweet water at his lips, the companionship of his fellow refugees from the harsh world beyond, all of it seemed like a dream made manifest. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you rest," Noura replied. "You eat the dates that fall from the trees. You drink from the springs that never run dry. You sleep on soft grass instead of burning sand. You remember what it feels like to live without fear. And if I want to leave, then you leave. The desert will always be there, waiting for those who choose to face it. But know this, once you have tasted the peace of Jawhara, you carry it with you always. The oasis becomes part of you, a sanctuary you can find even in the midst of the greatest storm." That night, as Khalil lay beneath the star-filled sky, he thought of his mother's words. She had been right about so many things. The desert did test more than just the body. It tested the spirit, the will, the very essence of what it meant to be alive. And for those who passed the test, it offered not just survival, but transformation. The other camels had shared their stories throughout the evening, tales of hardship and perseverance, of moments when they had nearly given up but found the strength to take one more step. Each story was different, yet all led to the same destination, this place of refuge and renewal. As sleep took hold, Khalil dreamed of endless sands and burning sun, of thirst and exhaustion, and the temptation to surrender. But now these trials seemed not like punishments, but like steps on a path that led inevitably to grace. He dreamed of his mother, young and strong, walking beside him through the desert, her voice carried on the wind. The oasis was always there, my son. You just had to become the camel who could find it. When dawn broke over Jawhara, painting the palms and pools in shades of rose and gold, Khalil woke to find himself truly home for the first time in his life. The desert stretched endlessly beyond the oasis, as harsh and unforgiving as ever. But here, in this sanctuary earned through suffering and sustained by hope, he had found something more precious than water, more valuable than shade. He had found himself. The old camel rose and walked to the edge of the largest pool, where his reflection gazed back at him from the still water. The face that looked back was weathered but not defeated, aged but not broken. It was the face of a survivor, a seeker, a camel who had crossed the desert of despair and found the oasis of the soul. And in that moment, Khalil understood that his mother's greatest gift had not been the story of Jawhara, but the faith that such a place could exist. For in the end, it was not the oasis that had saved him. It was his refusal to stop believing that salvation was possible. The desert would always be there, vast and challenging and full of trials. But so would the oasis, waiting for those brave enough to seek it, strong enough to endure, and wise enough to believe that even in the harshest wilderness, miracles could still unfold.